To my knowledge, I believe that drugstores offer syringes. You don't have to have a prescription to get a syringe.
Correct.
So is your program offering counseling? What else does it offer with the exchange? Because if it's just an exchange,
Yes.
what's...
No. And that would be the list of services that you saw. So we would be distributing the syringes. We also are looking to distribute all the other injection equipment. So I will say this has been completely foreign to me. I didn't know all of the other parts that came to this. And there are many other pieces, that can carry hepatitis C and carry an infection for a lot longer than I believed they could. So we also would be distributing that equipment, which individuals can't purchase in store. We also would be providing the overdose response training on site and providing Narcan kits to anyone. We would be doing the HIV and hepatitis C rapid testing on site. And then if anyone tests positive, we'd be linking them to care. And then we have peers that would be following them to kind of make sure that they're connecting to treatment. And if barriers occur, kind of help them work that out and navigate that. And then one of the other things that we're also going to be implementing is the fentanyl testing strips, which is a little controversial. But essentially they allow individuals to test their drug, and it only needs a small residue to see if it's positive for fentanyl. I will say the downside to this is a large portion of the drugs now have fentanyl in them. So the fentanyl testing strip doesn't tell you how much fentanyl. But the plus side is, and the thing that I even learned working and doing this is, there are ways that you can safely use even if you know that fentanyl is in the drug. So there's one thing that's called, moving slow. And if you're injecting slowly, you're essentially seeing if you're going to have a response before you're just injecting the whole thing and potentially overdosing. So there are harm reduction techniques if people know that the fentanyl is in their drugs. And then finally, the last thing, and I think the most important piece, besides like the education, is the linkages to care. So as individuals come in and build those relationships, we have connections with treatment providers, whether they be medicated assistant providers or just detox or inpatient providers, where if someone comes in and says, I think I may be ready today, we can make that referral and connection. So hopefully we don't lose the person in the moment that they're ready.
So does the harm reduction staff have specific training related to the building the rapport and establishing the trust? And also, do they have any, for lack of a better description, case manager piece where they monitor their recommendations as those individuals go through a process?
So I come from a clinical background. Okay. So I'm a licensed addiction counselor.
Okay.
So all of the staff that will be working with us are going to be trained motivational interviewing, which is the counseling piece. But then besides that, myself and all of the other counties in Maryland had to go through a pretty intensive syringe services program training. And then I actually am now having to go into it to be a train the trainer kind of thing. Okay. We do not have staff onboarded yet because obviously our application has not been approved yet, so we can't onboard the other staff. But we're looking to have 2 peer staff, which would provide the deliverance of services and the case management you're talking about. And then we also would have a part-time nurse that would potentially be doing wound care and then doing the blood draws for all the HIV and hepatitis C confirmatory testing, and also assist in the case management of follow through.
Okay, the other question is the research related to this. It wasn't clear to me. The statistics that you put forward, they seem anecdotal as opposed to like test and control driven for your outcomes. Like scientific method.
Yes.
So what's the source of the research for?
I can't answer that question.
Okay,
yeah.
right.
I wish I could answer that question. I can get an answer to that question from our state coordinator,
okay,
but he's the one that's provided all the data to us.
I mean, that would be very useful in that,
Sure.
it's, I would love to take it all on face value, and I think doing something is better than doing nothing given the epidemic that we're facing. But I personally find it more persuasive if we have a touchstone to go from, a body of research or a large body of research to go from.
Yep.
And again, this is new territory, and I don't mean to.
No,
I'm not trying to,
That's why I
restrict
come.
it. Okay, great. And then go ahead.
Would you be working in unison with CORE?
So we have done presentations where we've presented the services together because essentially it's a spectrum, so we're hoping, ideally in a perfect world, I would love to be housed with CORE, with the methadone program, with detox services, so that, no matter what stage of recovery or substance use someone was in, they would have access to whatever they needed. Are we there yet? No.
And is this something you guys could incorporate, like a mobile Vivitrol unit?
We would not be doing any treatment. Any other questions, comments?
Very good.
How anyone feels about this?
I have to process it.
Okay.
It seems promising. I mean, it does, but I find a few holes in the steps that relate to the follow-up. I mean, the mental health piece, I think there needs to be more emphasis on. The training and support in identifying, not identifying, excuse me, but that case management piece. I think that
Backgrounds.
there has to be like a single source person to be able to monitor a set group of people. In my view, the other side of it is it's a pretty radical approach. I've seen similar things to this. I hope it is successful as it's projected to be. You know, I'm not against it, but more support on the mental health side definitely I think needs to be in place in that tracking piece, you know,
Okay.
to get somebody to the help they need. I don't think you guys are facilitating the problem. You know, I realize that. I think you're making it healthier, but that follow through, that's a worthwhile investment.
And I can say, you know, briefly, and Santita Prather would be the one more to speak on this, but the peers that she currently has, they actually do a lot of that case management piece. So we actually have peers out in the community now. We have one at Community Action Agency that works with the individuals that are coming in through the services there and is tracking, you know, whether they get somewhere, if they don't get there, seeking them out to find out why they didn't get there, finding another fit for them, or whatever the case may be.
Sure. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Mr. Blanchard.
Locations currently in Frederick County. Where are you?
So we're going to be we're proposing to start at the Frederick County Health Department.
Okay.
We have been offered a free site at Frederick Community Action Agency, but it's really going to depend on how we launch at the health department.
Okay.
Because of course, you know, everybody has a little bit of kickback coming from somewhere, and there are some individuals that are concerned about what the presence of this program could do to kind of the downtown area. But then we also have had other municipalities that have reached out and said, like, absolutely, we would be on board if you had a mobile site, you know, to come to us once a week or bi-monthly, that kind of thing.
So like a mobile site, like I guess like
We're looking at a
Van,
10-panel van,
okay. Huh.
something that we, you know, essentially somebody could get in the back of the van so we could do the testing, and there could be some privacy. And essentially, we're probably going to have to set up a table and a tent outside to do
Yeah.
the other distribution.
Okay. Cool. I was just curious. Nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So we turn to agenda item 2. This relates to the ordinance modifying vendor licenses language.
This one is real brief. Just as we're going through, we you know, this time of year that we start getting people coming in asking for vendor licenses. So we took a look at the, excuse me, the ordinance, and basically it was when Ms. Shaw was out. And as you read, the current ordinance states that applications for licenses shall be made to, and licenses shall be issued by the town clerk or any elected official of the town. So in an effort to facilitate these vendors' licenses when they come in, I have done them previously as the town clerk, that it was we struck out any elected official of the town and made it the town manager that can issue vendors' licenses. We're taking on a new practice, doing more research when people do come in for a vendor's license, so we're not just readily handing them out. So that's just all those two changes on that section of the code we're looking to change.
So is there the plan of action you're seeking is,
To approve
Accepting the
the
modification?
ordinance 1809.
okay. So with that in mind, is there a motion to accept ordinance 1809 as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept ordinance 1809 as presented.
Very good. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, sir. The motion's been made by Commissioner Buckman. It's been seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Is there any further discussion?
One question.
Yes, sir.
I'll keep it brief. Once an individual comes into the office and they take care of this, do you give them some sort of paperwork or?
They get a piece of paper that basically has their name, address, vehicle information on it, company they're working for, and the fact that they paid and it's signed by either myself or Ms. Shaw.
And then they're given that they can.
They are
present.
giving that-
There were
given
some
that.
individuals about 2 weeks ago over town. They were asking for copies of
Electric bills.
electric bills.
They did not come in. They had not
figured
gotten
as much. But,
vendors' licenses. The last two that have been out in town have come in and got vendors' licenses.
Okay.
And we do our best to post it on Facebook if somebody comes in
Yes, yeah.
with a link to our website. But currently, if you ever have a question about a vendor's license, if you go to our website, we list the current one, people that have had previous vendor licenses and anybody that has a current one.
I have trouble finding that. I think a lot of people might have trouble finding that. Last people that went through that were looking for electric bills, they showed me a copy of their vendor's license.
Well, that was the last group. We've had
Okay.
another group prior to the ones that you had,
Did we
our people had
check to see
complaints
if
with.
they're a valid company?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Okay. Is there a place on the town website that could be posted? Facebook is current.
It is on the
but-
town website, and if
find it.
if Miss Ray has the time or time permits, she posted on Facebook with a link to the website. But the website will always have it.
Okay.
Where
what-
it is exactly on the website, I can't tell you.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, when it shows on the website, does it show that Smith Company has a vendor's license, it's valid from this
Yes.
date to this date? So, okay.
It's got the dates,
terrific.
it's valid.
Okay, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Great, okay. Any other questions before we call to vote? Okay, any other comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
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 Anybody against? The motion carries 5-0. Aye. Very good. Okay, we turn to agenda item number 3. 3 resolutions in support of the fiscal year 2019 community legacy applications.
I'll turn this over to Ms. Sipperly.
Commissioner
Yes, sir.
Kavanaugh.
Okay, thank you, sir. Interesting.
Kavanaugh.
I didn't hear him.
SCOTUS, Brett Kavanaugh got the
Okay, as I mentioned earlier during the planner's report, Ms. Shaw and I had prepared 3 applications for funding from the Community Legacy Program. One was a continuation of our facade and restoration program. That's the first one here. And down toward the 4th paragraph from the bottom of the first page, we applied for $75,000, which we've done before. We usually get $50,000. That seems to be the sort of going rate for, especially for towns of our size. So that is one of them. Let's see. I'll describe all of them, and then you can vote separately or not. Second one is the community pool house rehab project, interior renovations, which it certainly needs. We applied for $94,755,000. And the third project was the ADA accessible playground, which would be sort of a extension of the existing playground in Community Park, but it would have all the equipment and surfaces that would be readily used by people with difficulties. So as part of our applications, which have already been submitted, this is kind of a follow-up resolution of support from your local government. And the fact that the government is also an applicant, sort of almost redundant, but we need this as part of the package.
Okay. Any questions for staff related to either of the, or related to the 3 items? Mr. Ritz, yes, sir.
Other than the time spent by town staff, the exhaustive amount of time for pursuing the grants, are the grants in question, they're fully, there's nothing more involved for the town to put forward, correct? They're 100% grant money, correct?
On the
Match.
A match, that's the word I'm
Okay,
looking
okay.
for, yes, thank you.
on the facade and restoration program, We are just the pass-through for the money.
Yes.
And we do have to commit to, I think it was $10,000 worth of in-kind staff time, which, yes, that gets spent. So, and there aren't any matches on the other ones either, right? It's all, there's no town contribution other than the staff time. So. And as was mentioned before, we have received some money from other programs for the pool house, is it?
Yeah, because of the large dollar amounts for the pool bathhouse renovation and the all accessible playground, to ensure that we could complete both projects, and not knowing, particularly with Project Open Space, the limited funding each year, that we would receive enough, we have applied to Community Legacy for those projects as well. There is no match for whatever Community Legacy would give us for the bathhouse and the playground. And the match that she's speaking of for in-kind would be basically town staff's salary or hourly wages that is spent doing your grant.
Terrific. Mr. Ritz, does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Clarification related to the pool house rehabilitation. I know we need a new roof. Interior-wise, will there be any modifications to?
The new roof.
The roof is done, isn't it?
The new roof is
I'm sorry,
done.
yes.
This would be completely renovate the interior of the bathhouse. The men's communal shower would then become individual showers. The plumbing is leaking throughout the building. Just basically a complete rehab of your pool house to bring it up to date and up
Okay.
to ADA accessible throughout your bathhouse.
Terrific, okay.
The bathroom doors are shut. No,
Right.
it's all.
And what's the other thing?
Question.
There had been storage in the clerk's area, like the check-in, like when you sign in. Is that space going to be utilized for these shower stalls, I would imagine? Or, like, are we moving walls? That's what I'm asking. Or is it-
No, I do
no?
not believe
Okay.
we plan on moving any walls.
Okay, all right, interesting.
They were just had walls.
Okay, Mr. Sweeney, you said you had a question.
Will this project be done if we get it in the wintertime while the pool is closed?
I believe Community Legacy announces their grant awards in September. So potentially it could be done in the winter, so it's completed by the time the pool opens in May.
Yeah,
It's not like POS or Community Parks and Playground that you wait 6 months to a year to find out.
All right.
It's a little quicker.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All right, so, do we want to take these one at a time, or do we want to take these?
I would take them one at a time.
All right, so here we go. Is there a motion for Resolution 18-02R related to the Community Legacy projects?
I make a motion to accept resolution number 18-02R, Community Legacy Project,
Very good. Is there,
as presented.
sorry, is there a second for Commissioner Sweeney's motion?
I'll second his motion. I'm sorry.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Sweeney, seconded by Commissioner Blanchard. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any nays? The motion carries 5-0. Very good. Is there a motion related to resolution number 03R? And this relates to receipt of financing for community legacy projects related to the pool house rehabilitation.
I'll make
Community pool house
a motion to accept the resolution number 18-03R, the Community Pool House Rehabilitation Project.
Very good, thank you. The motion has been made by Commissioner Buckman is there a second for the motion? Getting ahead of
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you, sir. The motion is made by Commissioner Buckman and seconded by Commissioner Blanchard. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Motion carries 5-0. Very good, thank you. Finally, is there a motion related to resolution number 18-04R, the Emmitsburg ADA Accessible Playground item?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 18-04R.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Blanchard. It's been seconded by Commissioner Sweeney. Is there any further discussion?
I would like to make a point to edit
Yes.
the resolution at the paragraph, now therefore be it resolved that after the dollar amount of $207,378, it states the Community Pool House Rehabilitation Project to be,
Very good. Good catch.
ADA accessible
yes,
playground.
to reference as the other two.
Excuse me.
I don't know if that would affect anything. I wanted to point it out before we actually approve it.
No,
No,
it
that's-
needed to be changed. Thank you.
Thank
That
you,
just
sir.
modifies the motion, I think, so.
Okay, so, we were in discussion, so do we modify the motion?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion's been so modified as recommended by Commissioner Ritz. Any further comment or question related to this item? Mr. Ritz, nice catch. Okay,
I
I'll,
quoted Commissioner O'Donnell.
okay, well, you flatter me, sir. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries 5-0 as modified. Very good, thank you, folks. Okay, now we turn to agenda item 4, which we are going to postpone to a future meeting to be determined. And now we happily turn to setting the agenda items for our August 6th, 2018 town meeting.
Okay. I have 4 short items. Number 1 is a budget transfer related to the after-school clubhouse for consideration. Little quick background, the Boys and Girls Club did not receive their grant funding, so the monies that was set aside for that program, Mayor and I have spoken to Irma, and she will return this year to run the clubhouse, along with Julia. Number 2 will be your electrical vehicle parking ordinance for consideration. I have a policy related to employee vacation buyback for consideration. Do you need a little background on that?
I think it's self-explanatory,
Okay.
but does anybody have any questions or want any more?
That's one of the things we
No?
talked about. Yeah.
I think the mayor would like to talk about, no, okay, we continue. No. Yes, and a 4th item, yes, ma'am.
Okay, finally, charter amendment updates for consideration. Just some basic charter updates to kind of bring us out of you guys having to remove the dead bodies from the streets
Oh,
and
phew.
things
Yes,
like that.
thanks.
So we're trying to clean
was
up the
looking-
code a little bit,
Looking forward to helping.
the
you.
charter.
It's not the highlight of my week, but
So, Ms. Shaw has been going through, as time permits, to fix some of those charters that needs to be updated.
my
There's
friends
the
don't
items.
believe me, that's in our charter.
I know.
say, hey,
It's bizarre stuff in there.
Okay, all right.
That's all I have.
Okay, so we had a request for a presentation related to a community garden, a market garden, I believe the term was, for the Scott Road Farm. The question is, do we want to look at that as an agenda item with the presentation? Or do we want to look at that as an administrative business item with a presentation?
What are the pros or cons of either?
If it's an agenda item, though not for consideration, it would give us a little bit more opportunity for dialogue.
Yeah, I go with that direction.
And that's
Personally.
kind of what I lean toward.
Yeah, I
But
like
Mr.
that.
Ritz,
Get the
I'm
person
kind of
to sign.
leaning on you because I think you are the best advocate in the room.
I
For
would
the
like
item.
to include that as an agenda item.
Okay, so we would have discussion item related to Scott Road Farm market garden use. Would that be sufficient?
2019.
I don't know the accessibility. It's 2024 or
Right, I have it to review, and I have the Scott Road lease to review. I need to compare the areas what are proposed and who
Okay.
actually has the land.
Okay.
Because there's several people that lease land out there already.
right
There's a lot of things that have to be
clarified.
taken into consideration.
Okay. So,
What are we calling it again?
discussion item related to Scott Road Farm, Market Garden,
Community Market Garden?
Community Market, fair enough?
Just don't refer to it as Operation Market Garden.
Yes, that's came to mind right away.
I was like,
Hold
sorry.
until relieved. That's, John Frost. Okay. And I would say, okay, so let's just simply title this discussion item related to Scott Road Farm Community Market Garden. Is that sufficient? And for staff, I would ask you, I know we have multiple leases. We have some moving parts there. I would certainly say that I want to bring in the trail consideration to this as well. So do you have enough information and direction to move forward
I do.
on your end?
Do I need to strike any of my agenda items off here?
No, I think we're okay. I think it will be a short meeting as the mayor is
Well-
doing handstands.
I potentially have an item for administrative business.
Okay? Yes, sir.
Are you speaking of the botanical garden? That one?
No.
Oh, no. Okay. I've spoken to Mr. Slaughter. He had presented an original botanical garden, and that he said to strike it, and he will bring back another one.
Okay?
So I didn't know if that's the one you were referring to, so that won't be presented in August.
Okay. No, I was just wondering if it'd be permissible or even worth it, as a board for discussion, for administrative business, to talk about potentially anything we can do for bringing forth to the SHA the possibility of another contractor for various projects in town, similar to what Woodsboro did
With the
in
bridge.
2015 with the bridge.
Right.
I know the SHA dropped the first contractor and went with the second one to expedite the process, and it seemed to work.
I can give
Sure,
you-
that would be a worthwhile discussion.
I know there's a lot of excuses that they come up with, the weather, this and that. I'm not in town a lot during the day, but when I am, doesn't seem to be anyone working on the bridge.
The bridge is slated as was originally proposed to be completed in December of 2019. That was the original completion date, and the meeting that we just had, I went on vacation last week, the week before, that is still the slated completion date.
Okay. I'm a little apprehensive only in that company has a
Well, they
lot
don't
of
have-
open projects that have been slated to be completed by now and have not.
Right. I mean, I don't know if you want to discuss that as a board, or if that's something that you want to direct staff to discuss with SHA preliminarily.
I would go both, honestly. I would like to keep this as an administrative item, and I would like the town staff maybe to have information related to it. And that, we caught if you saw the Frederick News Post last yesterday, they talk about the Empire State Building was built in 13 months,
There are a lot of things to take into consideration. The water line, it was drawn out to get the water line approved because they wanted us to pay for it.
The litigation,
We
sure.
were not going to pay for it, and that took a long time to get that negotiated. There's considerations with the stream work, and MDE has regulations of when you can and cannot work. I do agree that the process has been very slow. All we can do is try. But since they're not over their date, projected over their date, but I'll take whatever you want to them.
I think it would be nice to see some benchmarks along the way, some, goal setting that, not from our management piece.
I know.
I hope you
I know.
understand that.
I do. I
Okay,
do.
all right.
I've sat in on these meetings. I know.
We're just scratching our heads looking at, when people do and do not.
Could we find out when they're going to switch traffic to the other side? Maybe they have a date considered for that. Because before they can once they have to switch traffic over.
Correct.
So they have
What
to
I
get this
do
side
have
completed and switch
is
it
the
over.
minutes from the last progress meeting. I can review those and send them to each of you, so you kind of know where they're at and what the schedule is. I don't recall off the top of my head what the next stage is.
Because they don't post those online, do they?
I don't know. I haven't looked. I have not looked.
That would be
Seems
great.
like they're
thank
stuck
you.
on
I
the
would-
one
I would-
side. They don't seem to be moving. On the one side, side's completed, waiting for the other side to be done to put the steel on. That's the way it looks to me. But they don't seem to be moving. I didn't know if something was in the way. They couldn't.
I'll have to look back at the minutes. I don't want to misspeak on what their next step is. I have those.
Do you have sufficient direction with what we'd like to hear, perhaps, when you come back to our next
No.
meeting? Okay, so, timeline,
Could we have them come here?
sure, hey, by golly, that's even a better answer than I was thinking.
Cause we can ask them right up
Yeah,
front.
sure. Can we bring invite them in to visit with us?
Two.
Project lead and anybody who has influence in the timeline of its execution.
I can try.
That would be wonderful. Mr. Mayor, would you endorse that as well, sir?
No, but if it makes you feel better, but
Yes.
we have the same,
No, sure, no, I understand. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, I'm just saying,
But you have
we'd like
to,
to encourage this behavior, encourage him to,
you have to understand that one, we're partners with the square, and we got a little roughed up on that, rolled on certain things, but that one is all the state and their contractor. The only thing we got involved in is, hey, you're gonna punch a hole in our water pipe, and
sure.
the engineers missed it, but I don't know what they're gonna tell you more than what they tell us, that,
We would love to hear it, because it just, honestly, I'm sure everybody here is getting feedback from neighbors, folks in town, Jubilee, produce aisle, hey, can you clarify what's going on with the bridge? And it's not on you, sir. It's not, we understand it's not, our end and our management. We've been pretty platinum in our efforts. But what we're looking for is to hear from them, because it would be good for them to perhaps hear feedback, and I'm sure they get it already, but it would be nice to,
Oh, seeing, being on TV here too, they'll be on TV.
Yeah.
assuming Comcast gets it.
Yeah, we could tell them, you are on TV, you need to answer these questions our citizens want to know. Maybe we'll get some citizens here for questions, can ask too, maybe.
okay.
To push them a little bit. It seems like I don't do bridge work, that's not my kind of work, but it seems like they're stuck. Like something was in the way, or
I
they
heard a
couldn't
lot of
figure out
their
something.
It was
Stuff flushed down in the
water
rain,
pipe.
too.
Yeah, I know the water pipe was in the way, but it seems like since that's been
But
even
have
fixed.
you ever
or
gone
changed-
across 550 at Woodsboro, where how long that took? That
Yeah,
little-
they had to,
little-
they had to
That's because
change,
they-
that's
Three-
what they had to do, they had to change people.
Contractors. yeah.
Once the second contractor came in, it got done
Went down
pretty
really
quick.
quickly.
Yeah, but they couldn't get in there because of the native trout, and there's things going on. It
Oh,
goes to the
okay.
Chesapeake Bay, and,
That should be coming to a close here soon. I mean,
Today?
the fishing stuff.
okay. No, we're with you. We'll do everything we can to,
Save the bay, Mr. Mayor, not pave the bay. Save the bay. All right. Is that it for administrative business suggestions?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, so I think we have a
Bring
direction.
them here would be best.
All right. Are there any other items the board would like to bring forward? Anything else from staff?
No.
Okay.
I tried.
30 yet.
Do we need it's not 9:30. Do we need a motion to accept the
this off
agenda
the
as
consent?
presented? I hope not.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting
Agenda.
for August 6th as presented.
Terrific. Okay, is there a second for the motion?
I'll second.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Ritz. It's been seconded by Commissioner Buckman. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, is there a motion to close the meeting?
I make a motion to close the town meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 In record time.
The motion carries 5-0. The meeting ends at 9:35 p.m. on
25.
9:25, pardon me, old habits. July 9th, 2018. Good night, thank you.